Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some Thorfire products. Now I've had the opportunity to use a whole bunch of Thorfire products in the past, but what I'm going to talk to you about specifically today is their solar charging and crank charging lights and lanterns. Now what I have here is a lantern. This is both micro USB chargeable and solar chargeable. Now, I have used this solar charging exclusively and it's worked quite well. I've enjoyed this light quite a bit actually. I like this for a backpacking application. It is reasonably compact and has a decent light output in solid modes. I like the fact that you can use it to charge it with the solar power, but more importantly, that it also has the ability to use that USB charger. And in a similar fashion, you'll see here, this particular light is very similar. However, instead of having the solar charger, this does have a hand crank. Now, to me, the hand crank is a little bit hit or miss. I don't know if you consider that to be useful or a little bit limiting, but where you can actually use the micro USB charger to charge this up, give it the initial charge, and then you'd use that hand crank if you really just needed it. That's not too bad. I think that I generally prefer the idea of solar charging versus the crank, but obviously both of these have their pros and cons. And this lantern here is only solar charging capable. There is no USB charging capability, so it is limiting. Now, I can say I very much like this lantern in terms of the light output. It's been excellent. A little bit bulky for backpacking, but a great addition to your list of gear just to have it in general for multi-purpose uses. In fact, one of the things that I use this for quite a bit is to give it to my son, put it in his bed so he can read at night while my other son is sleeping. They share a room, and putting a light on is a little bit intrusive, so this has been a nice addition to allowing him to do some reading while my other son is sleeping. But with that said, it's been quite limiting where I only have the ability to charge this using the sun. I find a lot of times if I don't remember to get this outside, it's like, oh man, that's the end of the day and the light is toast. I do not have any other ability to charge it. And even at that, if it's cloudy, and then the other thing I do all the time is I put it out there to charge, but then I forget and I leave it outside and it sits outside for a couple of days. And then, I've done that in the past with other lights and they've blown away and they're gone now. So anyway, a little bit limiting. And I have another product here for you today to look at in a similar fashion. But this is an emergency flashlight. It basically has 3 modes. Low being 3 lumens, high, which is 8 lumens, and then a strobe mode. And to me, what I want to know is this as an emergency light only has the capability of charging via solar power or the hand crank. And what I'm wondering is that considered to be useful or is it just limiting? And in that same vein, this light where it only has 3 lumen output and 8 lumen output, even though it does have a beacon mode, is this useful or is it limited and limiting? Now before we go too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Thorfire who have provided this product for review. Now, I have mixed opinions about all of this. I will roll in some footage here for you to see it in action. But again, like I said, just a little bit, in my mind, limiting. But take a look for yourself. So right now, if I push the button, you'll see this thing is absolutely dead. So I'm going to get it out in the sun, see how well the solar charger works. Just removing this little piece of film. Get it out in the sun and charge this thing up. So we got this in the sun here. It's about 2:30, almost exactly. So we'll give this a couple hours. This has good, solid, direct sunlight, and I'll check up on this in a couple hours, see how it's doing. So the sun's going down now, and these are pretty much done. You can see I have my lantern here, charging it via solar power with this emergency flashlight here. So it's had a few hours here. It's about 7:30, so just about 5 hours of charging in the sunlight, and now there are no more sunbeams to strike this, so let's see how this will perform. So just giving this a real quick test here, you'll see 1, 2, and that tactical mode. So it does appear to be pretty good in terms of the overall general power at this point. So looks like this is well charged and ready to go. So I'm gonna keep this in here for a little bit. We'll get it back outside when it's dark, and then we'll see what kind of performance we get out of these beams.
So with a single press, here you'll see the low mode, which is a 1 LED output. This is a 3 lumen mode, which is nice for general tasks, the ability to see things that are not too far away. You can see here that it nicely illuminates my hand without being too overblown. So that's good for just overall general up-close tasks without getting too overall blind. But then another press, and here you have an 8 lumen mode. This has 3 LEDs. Again, not terribly bright, and in fact, you'll see it does not have a ton in the way of throw, but it does give you just a little more overall light output. Now, keeping in mind, this is simply an emergency light, so it's not made for anything other than pretty much just trying to get yourself out of an overall dark or poorly illuminated situation. And one more press puts you into that specialty mode. This is just a beacon. So for emergency purposes, just to have a flasher is definitely helpful. Now again, keeping in mind the fact that this is not necessarily a tactical flashlight, simply an emergency flashlight. So those 2 intensities, the 3 lumen and 8 lumen output, and then again, that strobe mode.
So I feel like the construction on this light is a little bit strange. It is a hard plastic all the way around, and then when you see this sort of outer area, it's almost awkward construction in a way. Now, if this was rubberized and a little bit, I'd say made to maybe bounce or something like that. So if this was rubber and this was rubber, I could see that, but I just don't exactly understand the construction here and really why it's made the way it is, but that's just me. Again, here you can see the crank folds out and is capable of being operated to overall charge the internal battery, but again, just a little bit impractical in my mind. And then here, taking a look at these solar panels, you'll see you do have your mode selection button and then this panel here. So again, I do kind of like the idea of the solar charging. I know it's limited. It can only be used in certain times of the day, and obviously if you have bad weather, this could potentially be something that would limit you, and you'd have to kind of rely on that crank if it's not already charged up. And then, you have this funny little lanyard hole, and I don't know, this whole thing to me with the really low lumen output, limited beam throw distance, and overall amount of light, then limited by your inability to use a USB charger, I just don't really overall see the function for this in my mind. Now, generally speaking, I do like Thorfire products. I've been very happy with their flashlights, and I do very much enjoy these lanterns. Like I said, I think they have overall excellent functionality, and they are something that I've enjoyed using in multiple different scenarios, multiple different times, and for different applications. So, to me, I do generally like Thorfire products, but unfortunately, I feel as though this one is a miss. So, alright, there you have it, a quick look at this Thorfire emergency light. So, I'm just a little bit confused about it. I kind of wish it either had a better lumen output, at least on the high end. The low, I could see keeping it super low in case you had to hand crank and you just needed enough light to get by. Just enough light in a power outage to be able to get you from point A to point B, sort of see some things around your house. That, to me, is where this would be the most useful. I don't see too many other really great uses for it, and it's just so limited in my mind where you have to put it outside to charge, or you have to sit there and crank like crazy. It's just a little bit not practical. I would love the idea that I could plug this in, leave it charging, have it ready to go, and then if there is an emergency, I would then have the ability to take this and use it, or if I had to get a little extra juice, crank it or something like that. But the funny thing too is most of the time when the power's out, it's either dark outside or it's really crappy weather. So the idea that you're going to charge it with solar power seems a little bit strange. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.